And I did it.
I think it'd be clearly regarded when women in your prisons during your term in office were being subjected to gang rape and men to sodomization. Now that you know this, even if you say you didn't know it at the time, where's your apology to the victims?
I think I have already apologized when I resigned, because that's a system which was operating under me.
Have you met the victims and apologized personally to them?
If there is a need be, I will.
You haven't done so, have you?
I haven't get those chance, and I will. We have a reconciliation and Truth and Reconciliation Commission established, and that process is going on.
How do you sleep at night, knowing that this was going on in your torture centres, carried out by your officials while you were Prime Minister? How do you sleep at night?
If I knew, then I say to you that I was there to correct everything in my disposal if I knew it, but I didn't know that.
You're said to be a religious man from a family of Pentecostals. Is that right?
That's true.
How does gang rape and sodomization fit in with your religious values?
No, I didn't know. I said, if I knew, it doesn't fit in my values.
But you went on denying it in every interview.
That's the report I have.
Despite the reports coming in from human rights groups all over the world, which you just rubbished. You said, that's not true, they're outsiders, they're our enemies, don't listen to them. Everything is fine, you said.
I think I have never said everything is fine.
You said there was no mistreatment. You said there was no mistreatment going on.
There is a problem, but I was saying that my report is that it's not to the extent what has been said. That's what I said. But in any case, I have a report which I was giving to the public, which was the case.
Let's take another detention center, Jijiga Central Prison, otherwise known as Jail Ogaden, a regional detention center in the east of the country, administered in part by your special police. It was closed in August last year. Do you know what was going on there as well?
No, I don't know.
Why not? You knew the prison existed. You had no curiosity. You had no curiosity, Mr. Hayemaram. You didn't want to know what was going on in your jails, did you?
No, it's not the case. You know, the regional governments have their own rights. And I think the whole thing is I did my work according to the reports I get from my intelligence and from my sources, and therefore that's what was the case.
People reported, there were many of the former prisoners who said they saw people dying in their cells after being tortured by officials in this Ogaden jail, as it was called. What should happen to the officials who carried out this torture?
I mean...
what should happen to them?
They are imprisoned.
That's it?
Yeah.
Just prison sentences? And what should happen to you for turning a blind eye to it?
That depends on this legal system of the country. You know, I resigned simply because to take all the responsibilities.
But what is extraordinary is that with all the abuses that were carried out while you were Prime Minister, you accepted from the new Prime Minister the nation's highest award for service without even blushing, without any embarrassment whatsoever. Now that you know what was going on while you were Prime Minister, why didn't you give back that award?
Why should I? Because I have a number of positive things I have done
because you
in my
failed
country.
To take control.
No, this is one part of it, and that's
it's a huge part. It's a huge torture. Is a huge part.
I work within my country. That doesn't explain. That's not the only thing. You know, I have done many good things. There are issues in the system which are a failure, which I initiated to reform and deepen that reform, because I understood that the age of, before my resignation, I understood that there are something going wrong. Therefore, I initiated this reform, And then I have released 95% of those.
You were in office for 6 years, and this new Prime Minister has come in and done more for human rights than you did in all the time you were there.
It is because I paved the way for him.
Really? The US State Department in 2016 published a catalogue of the human rights abuses taking place under your rule, which of course you denied, but they're now known to be true. Arbitrary killings, disappearances, torture, harsh and life-threatening prison conditions, detention without charge.
You can enumerate whatever you want, but
It's what they said.
Yeah.
But how can you say that you didn't know what was going on when all these reports were out there pointing to what was going on?
Yes, whenever I knew that there are things going wrong, I initiated the reform, and a serious reform and deep reform, and that's the result where the Prime Minister has come into power.
You said when you resigned that you wanted to be part of the solution in Ethiopia. How can you be part of the solution when you were so much part of the problem?
You know, I become part of the solution because there is a problem.
Which you created. You created the atmosphere, the permissive atmosphere in which your security officials believed they could torture, that it was all right to torture, go on torturing, disappearing people, extrajudicial execution.
That's not there.
You created the atmosphere in which that was possible.
I didn't create the atmosphere.
So what qualifies you?
And the constitutional system has been established, then anyone who's involved with it could be accounted for. But I didn't create this conducive environment for them. It is a deep system which I was not able to look into because of my background and because of my, I am an outsider coming into the deep system, so I couldn't see that.
When Mr. Abiy came into power, he couldn't wait to condemn the legacy of your government and draw a line under your time in office, could he? April last year, he said that government, your government, had sanctioned torture of its prisoners and said it had been guilty of state terrorism. He said in Parliament, does the Constitution say anyone who was sentenced by a court can be tortured, put in a dark room?
That's true.
It doesn't.
That's true. That government was his as well, not only mine.
You were the Prime Minister.
I was the Prime Minister, but he was there also.
The buck stopped with you.
We collectively decided to reform, including himself.
The ultimate responsibility lay with
you. Yeah, it is.
Why do you try and get out of it? Why do you try and get out of it?
That's why I initiated the reform. That's why I initiated the, 1 year taken reform.
You initiated reform. You blocked every attempt by the United Nations Special Rapporteur, the UN Human.
It should come from us.
Every attempt.
It should come. All the reform should come from us.
And the only reason you blocked them from investigating was because you didn't want them to find out what was going on.
I did, and I initiated the reform before my resignation a year ago. And that reform is what resulted Prime Minister Abiy to come to power.
Hundreds of people were killed.
To bring him to power.
Hundreds of people were killed under your regime, and you refused to have an independent investigation led by the UN's chief human rights official.
If you ask the killings, the last 1.5 years, the number of killings surpassed in 6 years what happened in my term. If you ask for killings, look, that is not the case. So the whole thing is, I initiated this reform, and a year ago before my resignation, and I paved the way for the new system.
You let some people
come in.
You say you initiated the reform. You created a regime where people were tortured and disappeared and had their rights taken away from them consistently. Tens of thousands of people, and you denied it time and time again.
I have asked an apology to my people that the regime has some abuses of human rights and a deficit in democracy, and that has happened. I still feel that I'm sorry for that, but I initiated for the change to come.
That's not much of an apology, is it? That really isn't. That's a half-hearted apology.
No, it is not.
And
I would have not resigned. I could have taken it to the last, as many leaders.
You couldn't. The party didn't want you to stay. You lost the faith of the party.
No, I haven't lost the security forces. I haven't lost the army.
They're being arrested. They're being arrested and they should,
No,
have,
by
been,
the time,
they should have been investigated under your time and they weren't.
If I want to continue as dictators, you know, I could have used everything up to the last of my breath. So
You
the whole
always
thing
claimed
is,
dictatorship. You always claimed democracy took time. You always said this is a fledgling democracy. It takes time.
Exactly.
This is what every dictator says when they don't want to give up power.
You yourself in Europe, you passed through a number of civil wars before you came to the democracy.
This is what every dictator says. It's not time. The people aren't ready. You can't hurry these things.
It is not one-day show. Even Europe, United States, everywhere in the Western countries, your democracy has taken time. And it has not come in one shot, in one day, in 1 week, in 1 year. It has taken years to mature. That is true. And that will continue. Democracy is building democratic culture.
Yeah, and you did everything to slow it down. Mr. Hailemariam, you've never shied away from associations or friendships, either with indicted or convicted war criminals, have you? Do they hold some special fascination for you, these people?
Which ones?
Like Mr. al-Bashir, the former president of Sudan. In August, you posted a controversial picture on Facebook of you smiling next to Ethiopia's exiled Marxist leader Mengistu Haile Mariam. And then you took it down when there was a huge outcry because this man, of course, was found guilty in absentia of genocide.
By the way, I met him incidentally when I was there in Zimbabwe. He was in the president's office when I was there in the president's office. Then I met him and I talked to him. So that's what happened. In any case...
And you posted a comment saying, I wish to see more former heads of government and state in my country contributing their parts in different capacity after peaceful transition of political power.
No, that was not me. It is the officers there who did it, and I say this is wrong.
So you don't want Mr. Mengistu, with his conviction for genocide, to play a part in the new Ethiopia?
I think if we go through Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and if he's also given chance to, to apologize, and then anything what the Truth and Reconciliation Commission brings into it, I think that the country needs reconciliation. I have a deep belief that we need reconciliation. What matters is what's not the past, even the future is worrisome.
The past matters. Genocide isn't something you just flick away and pretend it didn't happen.
To my country.
Explain to me, please, how a conviction for one of the most serious crimes on the planet would qualify Mr. Mengistu to contribute to the well-being of your country. How would a man with a qualification like that?
I think it depends on how the
conviction for
goes.
genocide. A genocide, one of the most serious crimes you can
commit.
commit.
In South Africa has reconciled.
Apartheid isn't genocide, Mr. Hailemariam.
Yeah, for you,
it's not genocide.
But for Africans it is more than genocide.
Where is your Truth and Reconciliation Commission?
It has been established, and we'll see the result. For you, yes, apartheid is not. But for us, it is.
So you're quite happy for convicted war criminals to come back to your country and play their part. Good old boys.
If the reconciliation procedure allows that, yes. If not, then no.
How should future generations in Africa protect themselves from people like you?
They should democratize their countries.
Get rid of dictators like you?
I think labeling me dictator is wrong. Is wrong. This is yours. It's not my people's. So I think this is misplacing again. This is rude from your side.
Hailemariam Desalegn, thank you very much for being on Conflict Zone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.